My daughter recently told me that my ex is doing great ever since I left him for another man. She says he's happier, healthier, and more focused than ever, like he's thriving in ways he never did when we were together. Hearing that stung more than I expected, not because I regret my choice, but because I never thought leaving would become the best thing that ever happened to him. I'm 37 now, and life looks completely different than it did just a few years back. I'm married to Mary, who was once the other woman in my life when I was still married to my first husband. We had been together officially for 5 years, 4 of which we were married. It's strange how life twists and turns, isn't it? Let's rewind to the start. I met my ex-husband in college, and we married young. He was always the hardworking, ambitious, and dedicated kind, traits I truly admired. But as his career took off, it demanded more and more of his time, affecting our home life and our emotional bond. He was great in many ways, helping around the house and making time for monthly dates, but emotionally, I felt left out. Then Larry entered my life. I met him at 31 at a friend's party. He was charismatic, charming, and seemed to understand me like no one had in years. He made me feel valued and heard. We started out as friends, and within 7 months, our connection deepened into a relationship. At first, it was thrilling, full of the energy and excitement of new love. But deep down, I knew things were complicated and painful. Soon, my marriage couldn't keep the secret. When my husband discovered the affair, I faced a heart-wrenching decision. My feelings for Larry had grown so strong that I chose to leave my husband for him. We divorced, and not long after, Larry and I got married. However, our dream quickly began to show cracks. Our first 2 years felt like living in a bubble. We both worked, and I used part of my divorce settlement to enjoy life and strengthen our bond. Then 2020 hit, and everything changed. Larry lost his job because of the pandemic, and suddenly, I became the main provider. The financial pressure was overwhelming. I took 2 jobs just to keep us afloat, and even then, I struggled. I ended up relying on my parents for help, something I never imagined. The situation became even clearer when we had to sell the house and the car from my divorce settlement. We moved to a cheaper place, pinching every penny to save and find a way out financially. Starting a business felt like a desperate move, but thankfully, it started to perform better than we expected. It was as if shedding the remnants of my past life, including ties with my ex-husband, let us finally build something new. It's been hard work, and there are no guarantees, but we hold on to hope that things will get better. About 4 months ago, I discovered that Larry had been secretly taking money from my savings. It felt like someone pilfering from your secret stash of candy when you're not looking. When I confronted him, he got angry and said he didn't trust me. He claimed that because I had made a huge mistake in my previous marriage by being unfaithful, I wasn't worthy of complete trust. He even argued that since he was single when we got together, it was acceptable for him to keep some of my money in reserve for when things might go wrong. On top of that, Larry does absolutely no housework. Imagine doing all the chores while your partner lounges around playing video games or going out with friends, nothing to help out. And it got even worse when I found out he was cheating on me with a waitress from the bar. I was shocked and deeply hurt because I believed we were supposed to trust each other. Now, talking about divorce feels overwhelming. We don't have much money, and everything is in disarray. It's even tougher than when I was with my ex-husband. Larry recently quit his job, which has tightened our finances even more, making it hard to cover our needs. I also have a 12-year-old daughter from my first marriage, and she tells me how well her dad is doing. They even went on a trip to Venice, which leaves me feeling a mix of sadness and jealousy. I wonder if maybe I didn't end things well with him. We separated on relatively good terms. He got primary custody of our daughter, while I kept the house and the car. I see her 5 days a month, yet I can't stop thinking about my ex. Perhaps it's guilt, maybe there's still love, or maybe I'm just completely confused in the midst of all this chaos. I wonder if I should reach out to him, even though we only talk about our daughter and haven't met in person for over a year and a half. Part of me feels like a terrible person for having been unfaithful and ruining something good. Now, my life feels like it's falling apart, and I take full responsibility. I can't stop thinking about him because I miss him and just want to have a conversation with him, nothing more. And to make matters worse, the man I left him for is now cheating on me. A few months ago, I discovered Larry had been secretly taking money from my savings. It was like having a secret stash of candy and finding pieces missing when you weren't looking. Pretty sneaky, right? I was bothered, but things took a turn for the worse last week. On Thursday, I came home early from work to surprise my daughter with dinner, and I found Larry in our living room. But he wasn't alone. He was with someone from his old job, specifically, the assistant principal from his former school. They weren't just chatting. It was obvious they were too close, sitting together on our couch as if nothing was amiss. Larry saw me and didn't even act surprised. He just looked at me and said, "That's how things are now. You need to get used to it." I couldn't believe it. My heart nearly stopped, and I stood there frozen, unsure of what to do. Later that night, after Larry and his friend left, I called my best friend because I desperately needed someone to talk to. We sat in my kitchen while I poured out everything, trying hard not to cry into my ice cream. Then she accidentally mentioned that several of our friends already knew about Larry's behavior. They assumed I was okay with it because of my past infidelity. I felt utterly betrayed, as if everyone was against me. Feeling like I was in a mystery show, I decided to dig deeper into Larry's secret life. I uncovered receipts and even a lease for an apartment I'd never heard about. Apparently, he had been renting a place across town under a false name. And guess who was staying there? The same assistant principal. It was like he had been leading a double life, and I knew nothing about it. In the middle of this mess, my phone rang. It was my ex-husband, my daughter's father. He was really worried because our daughter had overheard something about my situation and was upset. My heart sank. I hated the idea of her being caught up in this adult drama. He asked me to meet so we could figure out how to handle things for our daughter, who is only 12 and shouldn't have to deal with this chaos. That conversation made me remember the stability and security we once had, despite our own issues. Larry abruptly decided he needed space amid all the chaos. He grabbed a few bags and left without warning, saying he wasn't sure if our future was secure. Meanwhile, I was left to mend my shattered heart and broken home, wondering if I should try to win him back or simply move on. Part of me even considered reconnecting with my ex, not to reunite, but to find a sense of calm in all this mess. One thing was clear. I had to concentrate on my daughter, ensuring she felt safe and loved above all else. Just last week, I was having what I hoped was a normal morning at home, sipping coffee and checking emails, when the mail arrived. I assumed it would be the usual mix of ads and bills, until I spotted one official-looking envelope among them. My heart sank a little because, let's face it, good news rarely comes in fancy packages. I opened it, and was hit by a shock akin to a sudden lightning strike, minus the dramatic thunder. The letter was from a lawyer, and not just any lawyer, but one hired by Larry, my soon-to-be ex-husband. Yes, Larry had decided it was time for divorce, something I probably should have expected. But here's the twist. He wasn't content with just separating. He wanted half of everything, including my business, my pride and joy that I built from scratch, and my 401k, which is my nest egg for retirement. Reading that letter stirred up a whirlwind of anger, fear, and stress. How could the man who was once my partner in everything now try to snatch away everything I had worked so hard for? It felt like living in a movie where the plot suddenly goes terribly wrong. After a long, painful 10 minutes of processing it all, I called my sister. She's always been my rock during tough times, encouraging me to stand up for myself and not let Larry trample over what's mine. Fight for what you deserve, she said, urging me to hire a strong lawyer to help protect what I've built. Yet, the legal battle loomed large, with expensive fees and the looming threat of losing clients who could sense the tension. On top of that, I was a mom with a 12-year-old daughter who watched every bit of this unravel. Despite her young age, she's incredibly wise. When she saw my distress, she wrapped me in the biggest hug and whispered, "Mom, everything will be okay. You're the strongest person I know." Her words warmed my heart. I promised myself that no matter how messy things got, I wouldn't let it impact her. She deserved a happy, stable life. Then, as if the storm wasn't enough, life threw another curveball. Feeling overwhelmed and a little lost, I started reminiscing about my past, specifically, Mark, my first husband. With him, life had been steady, secure, and kind. After all the chaos with Larry, I found myself missing the simpler days with Mark and wondered if maybe there was a chance to start over with him. So, I made the impulsive decision to visit him. My heart raced as I drove to his house, and when I arrived, I knocked on the door with a mix of hope and anxiety. Mark's surprised expression said it all. I blurted out, "Hi Mark, I know it's been ages and a lot has happened. I've been thinking about our past, and I'm really sorry for how things ended. I'm in a tough place right now, and I miss us. Can we talk about maybe giving things another try?" His reaction was immediate and cold. With anger rising in his voice, he snapped, "You can't just show up and ask for a second chance after everything that happened." Before I could explain or apologize further, he told me to leave and shut the door in my face. I stood there, shocked and heartbroken, and the drive home was filled with tears and a crushing sense of loneliness. Now, back at home, the weight of it all feels unbearable. A messy divorce with Larry trying to claim my business and savings, and a painful rejection from Mark. But through it all, I realized I can't keep dwelling on the past. I need to focus on the present. I must be the best mom I can be for my daughter. My next step is clear. I'll hire a strong lawyer to fight Larry's demands, pour my energy into strengthening my business, and make every moment count for my daughter. The road ahead won't be easy, and I know more challenges are coming. But with my sister's support and my daughter's unwavering love, I'm ready to face whatever comes next. And just when I thought life had thrown every possible obstacle at me, another twist emerged. After dealing with Mark's harsh rejection, I braced myself for yet another unexpected challenge, knowing that every new curveball would test my strength even further. I was really down, but as they say, life doesn't pause for your pain. First, I had to tackle the massive challenge of an imminent divorce from Larry, who suddenly turned into a total antagonist, demanding half of everything. my business, my savings, even my 401k. It felt like an unending nightmare I couldn't escape. Refusing to let this situation crush me, I set out to find someone who could help, a remarkable lawyer. I found Ms. Carter, a pro with stellar references and a reputation for being unstoppable. When we first met, I shared everything: the love, the betrayal, Larry's sneaky financial tactics, and his outrageous demands. She listened intently, jotting down notes faster than I could speak. Once I finished my story, she looked me in the eyes with fierce resolve and said, "We're going to fight this, and we're going to win. You're not alone." For the first time in weeks, a spark of hope lit up inside me. We carefully strategized every move to safeguard my business and my future. While Ms. Carter was gearing up for the legal battle, home life was getting very emotional. My 12-year-old daughter did her best to help, leaving sweet notes on my pillow and drawing pictures of us holding hands. It was both heartwarming and heartbreaking. She was trying to care for me when I should have been there for her. That only made me more determined not to let this mess break me. I had to be strong for both of us. Just when I thought I had some control, one Saturday morning, a knock came at my door. I wasn't expecting much when I opened it, but there stood my brother, whom I hadn't seen in years because of a family feud. He looked a bit awkward and nervous, asking if we could talk. We ended up sitting at the kitchen table, 2 hot mugs of coffee between us. He explained that he'd heard about my situation from the family grapevine and felt it was time to put our differences aside. According to him, families should stick together. His unexpected visit warmed my heart, and he even offered to help out with my daughter when things got overwhelming. Reconnecting with my brother was like finding shelter in a storm, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there are people who care and will support us. So here I am, preparing for what might be the toughest legal battle of my life, but feeling a bit stronger with my lawyer and my brother by my side. I'm learning that hard times really reveal who will stand by you. Life is unpredictable, a wild roller coaster with ups and downs, but the ride always goes on. As I brace for the next twist, I cling to the lessons learned, the people supporting me, and the hope that after every storm, a ray of sunshine awaits. Later, my day began like any other stressful one. I woke up with a knot in my stomach and my mind racing about the upcoming court hearing. I met Ms. Carter outside the courthouse, and her determined, confident presence gave me a glimmer of hope that we might actually win. We entered the courthouse together. The atmosphere was heavy and chilly, with a vast, intimidating courtroom where every sound echoed. I sat trying to keep calm, even though my heart pounded like a marathon runner. Larry was there too, serious and flanked by his slick, persuasive lawyer. One of those TV lawyers who can twist any tale to cast their client in a good light. The judge called the session to order, and Larry's lawyer began his case, painting Larry as a devoted husband who only wanted what he considered fair, despite his claims of supporting my business in non-monetary ways. Then it was our turn. Ms. Carter rose and presented our case, laying out all the evidence, emails, financial records, that showed Larry never contributed to the business and had even engaged in shady dealings. Her words were clear and strong, making it seem like we had the upper hand. But then Larry did something unexpected. He stood up, visibly emotional, speaking about his loneliness when I was so busy with work and how he felt abandoned. He even shed a few tears, delivering an Oscar-worthy performance that appeared to strike a chord with the judge. Waiting for the verdict was excruciating. Each second felt like a heavy blow. Finally, the judge's decision came, a gut-wrenching blow. Larry won. He was granted half of everything. Half my business, half my 401k, half my world. It felt utterly unfair, a harsh reality I struggled to accept. Walking out of the courthouse, I felt trapped in a nightmare. Everything I had built was now split in two, and I could barely process it. On the drive home, I tried to come to terms with the loss. My brother, who had been my pillar these past few weeks, reminded me that this wasn't the end. "You're down, but you're not out," he said. "You can rebuild. You can come back stronger." Even though his words didn't erase the pain, they offered a spark of comfort. Now, as I look to the future, I know the road ahead will be tough as I rebuild my finances and my business. But this ordeal has taught me something crucial. Resilience isn't just about weathering the good times. It's about how you handle the worst blows. With my daughter, my brother, and an unbreakable spirit, I'm focused on recovery. Life threw me a curveball, and now I'm learning to hit it back even harder. As I write this, a lot has shifted since that trial. The dust has settled, and a new normal has emerged, one marked by hard lessons and deep introspection. Reflecting on everything, from my first marriage with Mark, the whirlwind with Larry, to the dramatic court battles, I've realized that a good relationship is more precious than gold and should never be taken for granted. I once believed that the grass was always greener on the other side. Larry seemed like a breath of fresh air after feeling neglected in my marriage with Mark, but that adventure turned into a nightmare, costing me financially, emotionally, and spiritually. His charm was just a disguise for someone I barely recognized. In the end, the court's decision was a bitter pill to swallow. Losing half of everything to Larry felt like a cruel twist, especially after all his actions came to light. It was during these dark moments that I discovered my true resilience. My daughter, with her endless optimism and love, and my brother, with his unwavering support, showed me the real meaning of family and strength. So here's my advice. If you have a good partner, treasure them, work through your problems together, and don't let small issues turn into huge divides. I learned the hard way that the excitement of something new fades, but the deep comfort of shared history and mutual respect is irreplaceable. Now, I'm rebuilding not just my business, but also my inner circle and spirit. Some days are tougher than others, but I keep moving forward with a clearer sense of what truly matters. I'm also giving back by sharing my experiences with young people, hoping they learn from my mistakes rather than repeat them. Life is a series of chapters, and while some have been turbulent, I'm determined to make the upcoming ones filled with peace, growth, and happiness. Mistakes are part of life, but they don't have to define us. We can learn, grow, and most importantly, forgive ourselves as we move on. Absolutely. Here's the continuation and conclusion of your story in the same voice and tone, wrapping everything up while keeping the character count around 10,000 total. This section continues naturally from where the last update left off. Now that some time has passed, I'm learning to breathe again. The pain hasn't fully gone away, and I'm not sure it ever completely will, but it no longer owns me. I've started to reclaim the pieces of myself that I lost along the way. It's strange how surviving something that tries to break you can also be the very thing that makes you stronger. I used to wake up with anxiety pressing down on my chest, afraid of what the day might throw at me. Now, I wake up thinking, what can I build today? What can I fix? What can I grow? I've stopped asking why it happened and started asking, what can I do with this? Rebuilding hasn't been easy. I had to start making tough decisions, downsizing the business temporarily, selling off a few assets, cutting unnecessary costs. But those sacrifices have started paying off. I'm slowly getting back on track, more focused than I've ever been. I also started attending a small support group for women who've gone through tough divorces. Hearing their stories reminded me I'm not alone. We've laughed, cried, and even ranted together, and every single time, I leave feeling a little lighter, a little more understood. Sometimes, just knowing someone else gets it is enough to keep you going. My daughter has been my little anchor through all of this. She's still leaving sweet notes, some silly, some deep. One of them said, "We're a team, remember?" And I've never felt prouder to be her mom. She's shown more maturity and compassion than some adults I know. I'm learning that part of being strong isn't always putting on a brave face. It's letting yourself feel everything and still moving forward. And it's okay to lean on the people who love you. You don't have to do it all alone. My relationship with my brother has continued to grow, too. He's become a real fixture in our lives again, helping with school pickups, showing up with takeout on tough nights, even coming to some of my business meetings when I needed moral support. It's almost like we never lost those years, and we're both trying not to take this second chance for granted. We've had a lot of deep conversations about what went wrong in our family, about forgiveness, about how easy it is to drift apart when pride gets in the way. We're trying to build something real this time, something honest and solid. A few weeks ago, something unexpected happened. I got a message from Mark, my first husband. It was simple. He'd heard through mutual friends about what I'd gone through, and he wanted to say he was sorry, not for the divorce itself, but for the way things ended, for the way we let distance and silence replace actual conversations. At first, I didn't know how to respond, but eventually I did. We ended up meeting for coffee. No expectations, no drama, just two people who had once loved each other trying to understand where things went wrong. It wasn't romantic. It was healing. We both apologized, both owned our parts, and both walked away lighter. I don't know if we'll stay in touch, but that moment of closure was something I didn't even realize I needed. I've started journaling again. It helps to get my thoughts out, even the messy ones. Some pages are filled with gratitude, some with anger, some with hope. But they're all honest, and I think that's what matters most. I'm also working on a new project, something that came out of all this pain. I'm launching a small mentorship program for women starting over. Whether they're leaving a toxic marriage, rebuilding after loss, or just trying to find their footing again, I want to be part of that journey for them. If my story can help even one woman not feel so alone, then none of this was for nothing. I've also realized something important. Healing doesn't look like a straight line. Some days you feel unstoppable, like you've conquered everything. Other days you can barely get out of bed. That's okay. Both days count. Both days are part of the process. I'm finally learning to be kind to myself, to let myself rest, to celebrate even the smallest victories, like signing a new client, getting through a tough conversation without crying, or simply enjoying a peaceful cup of coffee in the morning sun. I don't know exactly what the future holds. There's still a lot of unknowns, still challenges to face. But I'm no longer scared of them. I've made it through betrayal, loss, legal battles, emotional exhaustion, and I'm still standing. More than that, I'm walking forward with my head held high. And I know I'm not walking alone. To anyone out there who feels like their life just shattered into pieces, please hear this. You can rebuild. You can create something new out of what was broken. It may not look like what you had before, but that doesn't mean it won't be beautiful. Sometimes the most meaningful chapters come after the most painful ones. And sometimes, rock bottom is the foundation you need to start building something real. This is not the ending I ever imagined, but it's the beginning of something better. Something I'm shaping with intention, grit, and love. I don't have all the answers, but I have the strength to keep going. And for now, that's enough. I'm enough. My daughter is safe. My family is healing. And for the first time in a long time, I can see a future worth fighting for. A future I'm ready to step into, with eyes wide open, heart still bruised but beating strong, and a quiet, fierce promise to myself. I will rise. Let me know if you'd like this formatted into a script-style document or broken into video scenes.